Okay, body paragraph 1. On the one hand, it would be far too draconian to entirely control. Okay, yay! You used draconian correctly. However, I would not use far too with draconian because draconian means far too harsh. So if something is draconian, it is already a negative adjective, and so it can't be too draconian. So, I mean, like, what would be a good example of that? Of uh, torturous, or anyway, you see what I mean? It would be draconian, not far too draconian. To entirely control what artists create. Again, this is not what this essay is about. So you're not addressing the topic because entirely controlling is not being mentioned. It's not the argument at hand. Okay, and topic sentence shouldn't have explanations in them, I don't think. That's a good enough statement, I think, that you can. So your thesis is it's too harsh. Art stems from creativity and imagination. In other words, we don't need this. I don't know this. So your opinion is that artists work by letting their minds flow. I like this phrase. What needs to be understood here, good one, is that when they do so, too far from artists, I think. So that is that when artists do so, they have almost no control over how they are expressing their thoughts. For instance, now this, once again, this goes back to the example question we were talking about before. An example cannot be so complicated that it would never be part of a survey as a philosophical concept that ultimately causes a person to, hey honey, there's a survey here. What is art to you? I think art is an expression of myself. I think art is an expression of the time I come from. Art is a personal thing. Art cannot be defined. Art is a philosophical, blah, I can't even say it. But that would never be on a survey. It's too specific, and you're creating a survey to fit what you want it to say. So it's not believable. Anyway, how about just an unconscious act? That's believable. Therefore, the arts would no longer be the same if the much needed freedom were, it's a future unreal situation, so we use a past tense conditional. We're not given to creative artists while they work. Okay, all in all, this sentence could be adapted to support a point of view that relates to the thesis. In other words, I would say that on the one hand, we should not impose any controls over artists. That's what this says. Should always be given the freedom. So forget about entirely controlling. How about we give them whatever they want? That's what the question is asking. Why should we give them whatever they want? Because it will, if we don't, it'll interfere with their creative process and art won't be the same. So good ideas used towards the incorrect topic. Let's see what BP2 has for us. Okay, body paragraph 2. Now here is where you're going to present the ideas that you agree with. Now there's a couple places in an essay that you really want to avoid being wordy and showing off with your vocabulary and how many fixed expressions and unique collocations and wonderful words you have. That's in your introduction, in your conclusion, and in your topic sentences, and particularly the transitions. So this, you've made me feel like art is so unique in its artists are so frail that if we interfere with them, it'll ruin art. And then I get this sort of very clinical expression, despite the unique characteristics linked to the profession of artistry. All of those words are correct, but it's for collocation that we don't see the profession of artistry. Joko, what do you do for a living? Well, I'm in the profession of teachery. No, how about just make it a clean and clear connection between the paragraphs? This will help in your cohesion. Despite all this, just this, despite this, governments should enact. Now, enact means create new laws. There are already, certainly here in Myanmar, there's lots of laws about what you can express yourself as an artist. Guys put in jail for having the Buddha on their body as a tattoo. Not enact, but enforce or have, because the laws are already out there. Should line is drawn. Good collocation. It fits. Good. What is permissible, what is not? Again, good. You're going to get a 9 in Lexis, I guarantee you. Okay, now, you have to support this statement. And this is very questionable support. More often than not, creativity is giving rise to hatred and loss of lives. What? More often than not? That means that most of the time when people are creative, it leads to death? Surely you realize the absurdity of that statement. I'm quite creative and I've never killed anyone, and no one's ever died because of one of my ukulele videos. How about, instead of such a bombastic, over-the-top statement like that, we say something like, often enough, or how about just often, if you want to stick with the death thing, people die as a result. No, even that's too over the top. How about often violence occurs because of art. Often enough, violence is a consequence of controversial art, and this violence is not acceptable. An artist would say, like, yeah, violence is good, it's fine, let's have violence. Okay, but anyway, going on. For instance, see this down here where it says last year? Whenever you have a specific time, you can't use the present perfect. If you mark this out, you could use the present perfect here. If not, you need to use the past simple because you have a specific time. And because we've already said you're going to say last year, you don't need previous. Okay, for instance, there was or an instance, not instances. Maybe there were more than one. I don't know. Whatever you want to say there. There were instances of crude caricatures of the Prophet Muhammad, blessed be upon his name, in Paris last year, as a result of which the Muslim community created havoc, and this led to many people being killed. Many people? Okay, you really want to avoid religion in your tattoos in any way possible, at least not specific religions. So I would recommend that you take out the Prophet Muhammad, blessed be upon his name, and replace it with something like this. Instances, for instance, there have been instances of crude caricatures of, blessed be upon his name, I'm going to take him out last year, of religious figures. Being portrayed as art. Okay, we'll just take out Paris last year. There were, then we can go with your phrases. As a result of which, comma, need a comma in there, the Muslim community, kind of blaming them, created havoc. How about havoc? How about as a result of which, there was a loss of life. Much more academic and less likely to offend. Anyway, okay. Overalls, artists should have any right to illustrate their. One of the few times I can say that your grammar is wrong here. Artists should not have the right to illustrate their ideas in a way that is hurtful to others. And that's very good collocation. Yay. By the way, if you haven't figured out, the gray parts mean I like it. Yay. Okay. Good paragraph. Could be better. It's like the difference between a 7 and an 8 here for you. Can I have a recording box? No. Game function. Do I have too many apps open? Oh, wait. Yeah, okay. Right. Okay, we're recording. Okay, so finally, the conclusion. Although, in conclusion, it does not appear feasible that artists should be restricted in any way as they pursue their careers. Government should ensure that you across their limits. Okay. Again, you got the question wrong. So, as it applies to the way you wrote it, your conclusion restates the opinions somewhat effectively. In conclusion, the way you want to put it is, although it isn't feasible to restrict artists absolutely in any way, and we don't need to pursue their careers. Although it isn't feasible to restrict artists completely, government should ensure that they don't cross their limits. In my opinion, I partially agree. Okay, well, now we get your opinion. You've kind of, in my opinion, I partially agree with the proposition. Huh? Okay, now you're bringing. Oh wait, I forgot to talk about the topic, so I'll bring it in at the end. Oh, hang on. So if pieces, the ending is bogus.